Hey guys, my name is Deck. Welcome to The Corner Case. You're in the Hobby Corner. If you're like me, if you're watching this video, I assume that you really love this hobby. Like you freaking love the gaming, the people, the hobby component, and I love it. I love it so much, and that's why one thing that I want to contribute to is there's just like so much negativity sometimes on social. So sometimes it's justified, it's true. Sometimes Games Workshop just does some dumb shit, and sometimes I think it does just go overboard for no reason. I do think there's like sometimes a vocal minority who feel like they're being pushed by forces they don't understand. And, I think that, I can help facilitate, if I can help facilitate like a healthier conversation or discussion around those, then I think I've done like a good job to my community. So with that, today we're talking codices. So when it comes to Games Workshop codices, I think there's definitely a lot wrong, like objectively, but I don't want to, like definitively cut it out. I feel like intelligent people will always look at the pros and cons of everything, and that's what I hope to do today. Let's talk about it. I think from a consumer standpoint, the biggest pain point that I have about the whole Codex model that Games Workshop does is just straight up, the user experience is not a good user experience. This might be, maybe not the most astute simile here, but let's take Apple, for example. Apple and Games Workshop, let's compare them for a second. This might be bad. Before you go into the comments and tell me it doesn't work, hear me out. So Games Workshop is the biggest company by far in their market, and they claim to make the best product, right? So Apple is, by and large, I think the biggest player in their space, and also claim to make the best product. Now, what's the difference there? I know that there's no way you can really compare these two. They're in different markets, and the difference in size is just staggering. You can't really do that. But just hear me out. If I buy an Apple product, if I buy an iPhone, I'm at least going to get some baseline of like a good user experience as a consumer. Like if I buy anything from the Apple ecosystem, if I plug those into my life, it's so streamlined and so good. Like I can buy an iPad and I know that it's going to sync up with all of my Apple ID stuff. If I buy these AirPod Pros, they know the second they're in my face. They tell me they know. And they read my text messages to me if I'm washing the dishes while watching YouTube. So basically what I'm saying is like, if you buy into that ecosystem of product, you have this like good user experience incentive to stay. And actually you get punished for leaving the system, but you almost don't want to because it's just so convenient and easy to stay. So I'm not an Apple fanboy. I don't own a Mac. I do have an iPad Pro because I like drawing, and I do have the AirPods Pro because they're good. But this isn't, I would say that this is not the biggest bias. It's just the way they've crafted their product portfolio to have a good user experience is a good example. And I think what we as a group of consumers should hold an industry leader to. Now, if I take Games Workshop codices on the other hand, like, do you guys think that's a good user experience? Like, let me know in the comments, but I think the way I answer this question is with, a personal experience. So, this year, 2021, the pandemic was a complete blowout, of course, but in 2021, I got back into gaming, so I was playing 40K, I was playing Malifaux, I started playing Infinity during the pandemic as well. That's been really fun. But just to give you a comparison, a few months ago, I decided to get back in and I wanted to play my first game of 9th edition, so I invited a friend over who recently started playing, painted like a whole Death Guard army in like an ungodly amount of time, like 2 weeks, and like 2,000 points were done like really well. So he was super stoked. I'd been working on my Lamenters like all the pandemic, and they weren't nearly as done, but hey man, they're yellow, they look sick. So we wanted to play, I'd only played 8th, I hadn't played 9th yet. This was his first time playing. And because of the pandemic, like we're not gonna go to like the game store. We're just gonna play in my garage. It's safer, just the two of us, in my garage, safe. not the game store. But what that means is if I'm not willing to like buy the 9th edition Codex for Blood Angels, what am I going to do, you know? So I ended up just like inviting another friend over because that person would have access to all the information, and also they've been playing more. But that's like kind of what I had to do to get around. If I just wanted to play my army and I hadn't bought the Codex for this edition, I have to drop $50 if I just want to see if I like it. And that's just, look, if I compare that within, like right after that, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try Malifaux because that game was, with all the rules and stuff, like having to learn them, it was just so slow. I'm going to try Malifaux again. It's a fun game. It used to be my favorite game, actually. And they have a free app that's searchable, all the rules. You can actually like build your game and build your army inside the app, and you can trade that with each other. I invited 3 friends to play. We all played within the same week, and it was so much smoother because of that experience. What have y'all's experience been starting new games? You know, has it been smooth for you guys? Have you tried other games besides 40K? You know, and if so, like, how has your ramp up been? You know, let me know in the comments. Am I the only person who's feeling this way? You know, a lot of these things have been discussed already in a lot of other videos. They've been like beat to death, you know, but still, like, I think it's still worth discussing this. The scattered information problem is what I'm calling it. When you have information in this codex and information in this other codex and information in this supplement that came out, you know, when I wanted to play that game of 9th, I actually went to my local game store and I asked them, like, hey, like, so all these books on the shelf, I noticed like some of them are obviously 9th edition codices and some of them are obviously 8th edition. But as per these supplements, like Blood of Baal and, you know, Pariah, like, what are these all still relevant in 8th edition and in 9th edition? And rather than just giving me a yes, that's why we organized them that way, he told me, yes, my Warhammer guy who organized these books for me said that all of these still have rules in 9th. So, you know, like the fact that even the assisted sale was like not going well, and he actually has a guy to organize his data for him, you know, that to me is just like pretty wild in 2021 when like every type of information is searchable, is in some type of searchable database. It's so easy to find what you need now. The fact that information is being actively hidden from the consumer is like actually it's I don't even know what to say. Yeah, so that experience that I had at the game store is like what I see translating into like, you know, my daily games. I just played a Crusade game the other day. And, you know, anyone who plays war games knows that referencing rules is like a really painful experience because like when you're new to the game or the rules are changed, when you have to reference rules in the middle of the game, it breaks your immersion. And then depending on like, you know, it breaks your flow, your concentration, it's stress because now there's a timing component. You're like, okay, we're in the middle of the game. Let's figure this out as soon as possible. And then depending on how it goes down, like maybe you forgot the rules, so you look like you don't know how to play your army, or this guy like didn't like read the rules and you're trying to correct him in a polite way by, hey, like maybe I don't know, let's look at that together. Either way, like having to dig through multiple books during that already painful moment, I think that's like not a very empathic solution, product solution. So, you know, like I think something searchable would be way better. You know, I did also try the app. We're not going to talk about the app today because it doesn't solve the problem. But the scattered information is just wild. The fact that like I'm rolling to my local game store with $140 worth of books that weigh 5 pounds, which is like weighs more than my actual army. And then if I do happen, which I will have a rules moment, it's like extra painful. It's for the non-competitive player, I think that is just not a good experience to have. But again, let me know in the comments. I know there's like people who love carrying their books around. Oh man, and I can't even believe that like I forgot to talk about like all the FAQs and erratas. Like I'm happy they happen, but like the fact that it's so hard to get your codex into like a digital form means that like you're referencing, at best, the best situation is you're checking your errata on your FAQ on your phone or something, and then you have your book separate. And then one of the worst case scenarios, I think, is you actually have to figure out how to print out this page and stick it into your book and then hope you don't lose it. Oh my, it's just too much. I'm good. I'm good. You're good. I'm good. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm done ranting about just the whole why Codex user experience I think is not appropriate for the modern man. But you know, at the same time, as long as there's Games Workshop, I very strongly believe that codices will not go away. Everyone knows that definitely the reason is money, but I want to break that down in like a little bit more detail, like why exactly that's money. And the big concept is definitely, capital expenditure. So Games Workshop is a product company. When we think of them, and what they like to tell us is that they make models. And in order for them to make models, they have to spend a lot of money on injection molding tools. Those tools do last a long time. But I think depending on what model you're talking about, though, they might not pay off those tools right away. So I don't know Games Workshop's exact numbers, but just to do some funny math with some fake numbers, I do have some experience working with injection molding. Let's say that a tool for a standard Primaris frame, maybe it'll show up right here. I don't know. That'll cost like, let's say conservatively, funny numbers. Let's say it costs like 20K, like USD to make that. Okay, and then let's say that they only make one of those. Well, if they only make one, then they need a long time to produce everything that they need to on that high volume product. If they make multiple, that increases the amount of money they're spending before they make money. So the point is that like when you do injection molding, you have this like high upfront cost that you have to overcome. At the end of the day, Games Workshop is not the biggest company in the world, and I assume that in order to maintain not only real profitability, but the cosmetic appearance of profitability for their investors, that their overall CapEx, their expenditure should look low, just generally speaking. So for the most part, that's driving a lot of the way the business works. If you notice, like, they will only release a new character model. They'll release this big box, of Thousand Sons versus, I don't know who they were versus back then, like Thousand Sons versus Adeptus Sororitas. And they'll only release like a new character model, but they'll bundle it with all these old models. And that's because that's the way that they can get you excited with a new product with the least amount of capital expenditure upfront on their part. And then what they really want you to buy is they want you to buy the book, because the book is the easiest money they make. They don't have a capital expenditure on the book. Yes, they have development costs, they have production costs, material costs. Everything to ship the product is true, even packaging, freight, all that stuff. But they don't have the added expense of having to buy injection molding tooling, which is a significant cost. So really, I think Games Workshop is a book company. So I hope that wasn't like too confusing. Basically, the concept is they have like an upfront cost that's pretty high. So for them to actually only sell new models is like a huge effort. They don't make nearly as much profit, I think, doing that. So they sell books. So that they sell books, and they always will. So unless the app can be more profitable than the books immediately, they're basically never going to make a free app that replaces their book business, because every year they have pressure for their business to grow. It's easiest for them to grow existing businesses rather than make new ones. So basically, as long as we keep buying codices, they will keep making them. So even though I would very much like a free app so that I can actually enjoy playing with my friends and just only spend my money on toys and not on these books that go bad. So I think at the end of the day, I hope that I don't know, maybe you feel related to, I don't know. Hopefully the whole capital expenditure thing was maybe a new take on the subject. I haven't watched other salty videos as much, but at the end of the day, I think we're going to end this video the same way the other ones do, and that's vote with your dollar. And while you're at it, maybe you can like and subscribe to my channel.